So, Southern Glazers, wine and spirits, the largest distributor in the United States by miles. Miles. They are something like the 10th largest privately held company in the country. $26 billion this year. To give you some idea of the scale, they are just below Fidelity Investments. That's how big we're talking with Southern. They are now being sued by the FTC under current chair Lena Khan for violations of the Robinson-Patman Act of 1936. And this is really, really interesting, and I thought we could talk about it. I wanted to talk about it because it's the kind of stuff you should really be keeping in the back of your brain as an informed consumer. Okay, so first of all, what the heck is the Robinson-Patman Act of 1936? Well, this is something that was passed by Congress when they noticed that large distributors, not just alcohol, like other stuff, food stuff, whatever, large sellers were giving chain stores, big corporate chains, not just like sweetheart deals, but effectively secret deals. Like, so it wasn't just that the mom and pop stores, the independents, were paying more money. It's that there were other deals happening. There were other prices being offered on the market that they weren't even aware of. That they didn't even know they could get in on because it was only being offered to the big chains. And so this act was passed to block that, to kind of curb that sort of behavior. And that is exactly what the FTC is alleging that Southern has been doing. Now, as someone who worked on both sides of the kind of retail divide, I worked in a small store and I worked in a big store, I can absolutely confirm that well, at the very least, that the pricing at those scales was very, very different, because I saw some of the costs. And I mean, so just to be clear, it makes a certain degree of sense that you would charge more money per unit, per case, say, delivering to a smaller independent store, a mom and pop store, than you would to a big chain, because you have to send an extra delivery truck with your 2 cases of Casamigos or whatever. The delivery guy has to get it on a hand cart and wheel it into the store. It's just a little bit more work per case, as opposed to a huge pallet with hundreds of cases of the stuff that you just drop on with whatever whatever pallet moving equipment you may have. So it makes a little bit of sense that the costs are a little bit higher on that smaller scale of things, and so you would charge a little bit more there per case. And when someone is buying more, you could give them a little bit of a discount, because it's just easier to move pallets around than to move hundreds of little 2-casey hand carts deals. That's not what's happening. That's not what the FTC is alleging is happening. They are saying that basically the independents and the small stores are being completely price gouged, well out of proportion to the actual costs of sending the truck out, and the chain stores are being not just favored, but secretly favored by Southern. And that's bad and unfair, but I think it's really worth digging down deeper than the sort of poo-pooing. Like, why would they do this? Why? Like, okay, so you're a capitalist, right? You want to make money. Wouldn't you want to chase down those smaller accounts? I mean, here's what I mean. It's a little bit more of a pain in the butt, right? Because you do have to send your delivery truck out to, mom and pop's liquor store every day. But it's a little bit of extra money in your pocket, and you make that money, and who knows? Like, that store might expand. They might buy more of your stuff in the future, right? So why not get have a good business relationship with them? Like, give them a fair shake. Charge a little bit more just because of the difference in scale. That makes sense. That's fair. But you want to go through those headaches because that's what capitalism is about. That's what owning a small business is about. You deal with the storms every goddamn day in the hope that you'll be able to get a little bit more money this year and be able to do something good with it, and get a little bit more money next year and be able to do something good with it. And that's the game. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So why is Southern leaning so hard for the chains and against the independents? Is it just price gouging? Yeah, to some extent. What I mean is, the Southern is the largest distributor in the U.S. Like if they're not a monopoly, they're effectively a trust, which is an old-fashioned term for something that would really like to be a monopoly and is on its way, but isn't quite there yet. So there's going to be lots of customers who want Southern Glazer distributed products from mom and pop's liquor store, and maybe some customers might understand if mom and pop are like Southern is a bunch of bastards, but a bunch of them are just going to go down the road to the Total Wine or whatever, right? So Southern effectively says, "F you, pay me." What is mom and pop going to do but pay out the money to get the high demand product on the shelf? I think that's absolutely happening. That's totally happening, absolutely happening. But you still have to ask the question, why isn't that happening on the other side of things? Why shouldn't they be shaking down the larger chains as well? I mean, the larger chains can fight back a little bit better, but I think there's something more going on. And I would put it to you like this. It's just too much of a pain in the ass to have to deal with a bunch of smaller customers when you're a trust. It's just too much of a pain in the butt. Because when you're a trust, you don't want to do all that kind of, hustling and bustling, dealing with storms of small business ownership anymore. You don't want to do that anymore. You don't want to do the hard work of growing year after year. No. You want to keep your market share. You do want to grow, but you want to grow through mergers and acquisitions. So you let someone else grow a business up to scale, and then you just eat it up. No, what you want to do when you're a trust is streamline. You want to make yourself as efficient as possible. Cut your costs and get your margins as high as you reasonably can. So why would you want to deal with a whole bunch of small customers? You have to send reps out every week to different buyers to sell on different kinds of stuff. Oh, incidentally, footnote. There's also, I've noticed, particularly with Southern, there's problems with just their own portfolio, the smaller members of their portfolio. Like, I live in Illinois, one of the largest alcohol, not the largest alcohol market in the country, but one of the big ones. And we still don't get Clear Creek, because Clear Creek is Southern distributed, and they decided Illinois doesn't get Clear Creek Distillery. One of the most prominent craft distilleries in the country, Illinois doesn't get it because Southern. And I guarantee you, like their dealings with small producers, like that's not even as bad as it gets. They don't want to deal with it. What they would like, they don't want to send reps out. They don't want to send lots of different delivery trucks out. No, different drivers. You have to pay. You don't want to deal with that. You have different accounts. You have to deal with different billing and people typing stuff in. That's more money. You want to get rid of all of this to the extent that you can. So the dream world of Southern Glazers, if I'm putting myself in their place, the dream world would be not only no competition, but as few customers as possible. Like, so they're distributing everyone, but the smaller producers are out of business, so whatever. And they have as few trucks as possible, and the trucks that exist are as big as possible, probably driven by computers or robots, AI, something like that. You don't want to pay drivers, Jesus. Motorized warehouses, so you don't have to pay warehouse workers. As few selling to as few gigantic chain stores as possible, because it's just easier. There's less to deal with. You can automate a lot of the bookkeeping. So you just when you're trying to become a monopoly, when you're a trust, the objective is not to grow except by mergers and acquisitions. Yep, the objective is to grind things down as much as possible to a fine point, to a single straight line, and then to extract money from it. That's what you're trying to do. It's not a market really anymore in that sense, but you just want to you make money by getting rid of facilities, selling off equipment, firing lots of people. And the bad thing about monopolies and trusts is not the price gouging thing. That's not great. That's not great. But worse than that, if anything, is the downstream effects. What happens to those delivery drivers that get laid off, or all those wine reps that just got fired over the last couple of months? Tons and tons. I don't even know how many people got fired. No one does. Maybe I'll put a link down below on that. But where do they go? Where do they go? I mean, go work for another growing distributor in a market that's concentrating? I mean, what happens when they just get bought out by Southern too? So it's the downstream effect. Suddenly you have lots of Southern has gotten more efficient by grinding itself down as much as possible, and surfing as few, and trying to effectively drive the smaller customers they're dealing with out of business so they can just deal with the big boys. The downstream effect of that is concentration of wealth in a couple of hands, more people out of work. What are the companies selling delivery trucks supposed to do when suddenly Southern just wants to buy as few as humanly possible? You know that the passage in Smith, Wealth of Nations, about all the sort of downstream effects of buying a coat because the market is magical like that? This is the reverse of that. This is the the downstream effects of streamlining business for essentially rent extraction rather than good old-fashioned honest profit making. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm ranting a little bit, but point being, like, there's a rational reason why they are favoring the large chains so much, and essentially, not just trying to gouge and extract extra money from smaller stores, but really trying to break their back. There is a reason for this, and it's important to understand that reason. So now the FTC is stepping in to try to stop them from doing this. And what's going to be the effect if they get prices for independents and mom and pop stores back in line with, not necessarily in line with where the chain stores are at, because it's a smaller scale at the independent stores. It's always going to be a little bit more expensive. But if more in line than it is currently, what happens? Well, price of those stores presumably goes down because they're paying less for the product that they're getting from the distributor. And that means they become more attractive for buyers like you who maybe just want to walk to the local bodega rather than driving to, the Costco. So maybe they make a little bit more money. they're able to take on a few more risks, maybe bring in some cooler products that Costco isn't getting. Maybe they're hiring on a couple of more hands who are then spending money into the economy. Hey, how about that? So all of that seems beneficial to you as a spirits customer. Now, here's the bad thing. Lena Khan, current head of the FTC, is technically already at the end of her term. So she's just waiting. She's just kind of waiting things out, waiting to be replaced. And her replacement as chair in January is going to be a gentleman named Andrew Ferguson, who he's already a member of the FTC. He's one of the guys who was. The FTC has done a bunch of stuff recently. They stopped the Kroger's Albertson merger. They has been trying to kill off non-compete agreements. That's what they've been up to. Andrew Ferguson, so far as I can tell, has been against all of that. He's said that his top priority when he's chair will be to reverse Lena Khan's anti-business agenda, to get rid of those burdensome regulations, stop the war on mergers, and get rid of all the novelty. And I'm going to quote, novel and legally dubious consumer protection cases. And I'm guessing that will include the case against Southern. So, yeah. So this will be interesting while it lasts. Look, we'll see if it goes anywhere. But anyways, this is all, I think, important structural, environmental stuff to keep in mind. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of this, and cheers. I'm going to finish my coffee.